There it is. Shout out to DJ Dusty Fingers on the beats. That is some license-free content from YouTube bringing us in here. Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of your new favorite podcast, Sitting on Business. I'm one of your co-hosts, Matthew Stofsky, and I'm here as always with the one and only, number 99, Brandon Newman. How you doing?
I'm doing swell, Matt. It is good to hear someone say their own name and pronounce it correctly, because I always feel like I could be messing it up. It's good, as good of friends as we are. We met post the age of being able to memorize people's phone numbers, so last names are important. Pronunciation is important.
We're coming at everyone almost a week after the election. We recorded our first episode Monday night on the eve of the election, and we were like, oh, wonder how it's gonna go. And we saw how it went. I should have known there was gonna be trouble. I was voting in Brooklyn, pretty blue area, and I went to feed my ballot in, and the guy who was there, the volunteer working there, was like, tough day, we'll see how it goes. And I was like, yeah. And
wow.
That was like a bad omen.
The volunteer was sneaking some looks at the votes, like a cashier checking someone out at the.
Dude, that was my first thought. I was like, can you even be talking to me? Good thing this isn't like Arizona. They would have been 20 dudes with AKs in here being like, hey, shut up.
Hey, okay, let me say this. America doesn't like pantsuits, apparently.
They're 0 for 2.
As Bill Barr pointed out in his opening monologue, SNL. And I'm here in Florida, where there's been, I don't know if you want to call them Trump rallies, but if you drive down the street in the overpass, there's many people outside, a coalition, if you will, waving their Trump flags, asking people to beep their horns. There's been a lot of trucks and sedans with full-size Trump flags driving around ever since last week, really. So it's a little bit aggressive happy around here. While I think in New York, I've heard, I have some coworkers that live in New York City, and they said it's been kind of somber. And I got those vibes when I visited my local Trader Joe's. There's a lot of somber people at Trader Joe's in Florida.
Yeah, I guess Trader Joe's is the New York of Florida, I guess. The Brooklyn.
It's a New York satellite location everywhere Trader Joe's is.
I went out to a club the other night, to see this. A shout out to Detroit, some Detroit techno. Okay. This guy Jeff Mills, who's 60 or 61, and he's one of the OG inventors of techno in the 80s.
No way.
Really fun show.
Detroit guy?
I think he relocated to Chicago and then to Europe because nobody was listening to the music in America, but they loved it in Berlin. But really fun show. But this is all to say that there was, so I went specifically for this dude. He was playing from 1:30 in the morning to 5, and I stayed the whole time. 1:30 to 5. And it was so fun. It was just me, went by myself, vibing out. And I saw someone in a Trader Joe's sweatshirt at the club, which I thought was incredible.
I mean, there's so much to unpack there.
I know, it's a lot.
Where was this concert with Jeff Mills?
This concert was, there's this venue that I think opened after you left New York called the Knockdown Center, which is deep in that warehouse area of Brooklyn and Queens, the borderlands of Brooklyn and Ridgewood. And there's been a bunch of kidnappings and murders over there at not only at this venue, but at all the big Brooklyn warehouse venues. There was some big New York Times article about it a few months ago. It's people just keep getting snatched or whatever. And it was so fucked up in the article. This dude who was murdered, they found his texts, and his last text was to a friend being dude's looking at me like he's gonna murder me. And then he got murdered. And I kept
I
telling my
mean,
wife, I was like, I'm not gonna get murdered. And she's like, if someone wants to murder you, like they're gonna do
yeah,
it. Like, and
yeah.
I'm like, I just am
If they
always
think
like,
it's beneficial.
nah, like a big man like me, murdered.
Between that and going to see a techno DJ play from whatever to 5 a.m., those like two very white things that you just comp to. So I shout out to you. The guy's name is also known as the Wizard.
The Wizard. I know he used
Um,
to host a radio show in Detroit where he would just like mix the craziest shit, like early hip hop and like electronic music and stuff, and it just like super influential back in the
you know,
day.
we joked about freestyling on this podcast. We might have to get some Jeff Mills techno
Oh,
queued up.
I'll send you some clips for the media board. I mean, I was taking all kinds of
Okay,
videos. I mean, they were
perfect.
just like I don't know when the last time you went to a techno show was, but it is just the biggest freaks, and I mean this in the most loving way possible. Biggest freaks in the
Yeah.
world. I mean, I saw a dude at one point making like a really serious phone call, but he had a ball gag on. It's like I've never like and I saw two people wearing like leather like fetish clothing, like having like a really like intense conversation. I'm like, how do you even have like a conversation? Like, you know what I mean? It's
Well,
like you're like so committed to your lifestyle. Like, how could you even have anything to say other than just like your safe word or whatever?
there there is something about fashion that I don't know if it's like NBA or NFL Twitter, like the walk-ins have kind of desensitized like preconceived notions about what people are wearing. Like Debo Samuel, like we'll talk about him a little bit later, but Debo Samuel for the 49ers walked in to the game this past weekend against the Buccaneers, and he was wearing like short leather like booty shorts
Oh
that were kind of like
yeah,
slit on the side.
I saw
Uh,
that somebody said he looked like some like gay Blade or something.
bisexual
Yeah,
bang,
that's a
bisexual
good
bang.
one.
No, bisexual blade. That's what it was. He looked like a bisexual blade, and he just he was very serious about his business. So like, trust me, I am with you. Um, I feel like we're close enough to Halloween to like all those things to still be okay. But there is I I don't I want to talk before we get past election. I want to like try to hone in on something from it, right? I think for me, the version of America that I've encountered would vote this way, but
Right.
there's been a like a smokescreen of like up and atom more liberal values that are being pumped around us like the women on the View, they speak for themselves, and I feel like no other Americans. Like at one point in time the people on the View like represented like the American conscience, or maybe that was Regis and Kelly. But like it just feels like everything we see on TV is not reflective of everything that is in America. And I think at one point in time those were kind of like one and one. But for America decide that Trump isn't bad enough to have him up in office again, like all right, we can see what a 4 year dictator looks like. Let's just see what it is. Like I'm not like clutching my pearls or but it did feel like I was on a losing team just because I took the time out to go vote and feeling a little the little bubble next to Kamala's name.
No, that's totally how it felt. Like when your team loses the Super Bowl, you're just like it's just this like deflating feeling. It's like you had nothing to do with it, but it somehow it feels like you're totally involved, like you were on the bench, like
Yeah,
like you
like
called the
well, you could have
play.
did better.
It's like why didn't they hand the ball to Marshawn? That still haunts me, and it was like 15 years ago.
Bro,
So imagine how long this one's
it
gonna
may
haunt
haunt
us.
that may haunt Pete Carroll as well.
I bet it does. He's like a 9/11
Man.
truther. Do you know that about him?
No, and in like what is a 9/11 truther now? Like what is that even?
That's such a good question. Yeah. What is it even now? I mean, I think, let me rephrase. He's an old school 9/11 truther, like hot
Okay.
jet fuel and steel beams and the documentaries and
Yeah.
the whole deal.
Where's the debris by the Pentagon?
Yeah, but it's like, he got us that ring, so yeah, talk to me all day about Building 7. I don't care.
Oh,
He's a winner.
what is it? He he's like a frequent commenter on Loose Change, the YouTube
Yeah.
documentary.
It's like we know that's you, Pete. Eat Carol 6666. Like we know it's you, dude.
No, but what is like? Okay, do you have anything on this list before we just move on to another
Yeah.
topic?
I mean, I agree with you. Like anyone who's surprised, it's like, really? You're surprised? But it does. I liked your point about how everyone's just like, okay, we'll sign up for 4 years of a dictator because they really, and hopefully they're right that it really will just be 4 years. Unclear at this point, but I think it's just people
Man,
have so much faith in America and in the electoral system. Like even if they don't realize it, or even if they would actually tell you they have no faith in the system, I feel like they actually have so much faith that they're like they
yeah,
don't think it's possible that this guy could actually come in and break stuff because it's just like this is America, everything will be fine. It's like, well, you gave the keys to the
right.
drunk and now he's driving up a one-way street, and maybe it'll be fine, but it also some mailboxes might get fucked up.
Yeah, I feel like there might be a little bit to the American like psyche that the presidency is like a kid bowling with bumpers. Like it the ball can bounce on either side a little bit and and it's gonna go down and it's gonna hit some pins and and like we're all gonna like pat the kid on the back at the end of the day and tell him good job and try to roll it again where I think AOC said something about like this presidency, like the results of this election is going to be felt 20 years from now more than it is like within these next 4 years, which I would say it's daunting. But like if you believe in like climate change, you're kind of just like, well, it's somebody else's problem. Like, like it's I'm trying to get this money. Like if Trump is going to send people $200 again, I don't
Bro,
want to. I don't want. Like, I don't want to minimize it because like women are offended as they should be with all the things that there is going could possibly happen. He just put out this whole thing today about genders in America and they're given at birth and suing doctors that have helped with gender surgeries and it's it could get very like odd, but like we are going back, but America loves nostalgia, and I, I think we're all kind of just wondering like how bad could it get, and I think there's only one way of seeing it. Like, and I'm gonna lay out after this, but when you're playing football against a team and you need the ball back, at some point in time, you're like, I don't want to continue to run the clock out. I need this person to score. I need this team to score so we can get the ball back. I do feel like there was enough people that like Trump that was like, you kind of got to let him score now to get these 4 years up out of his system so we can see if we can possibly reset on the other end. Like, cause at the end of the day, like the next person who runs is not even going to be able to say that they don't like Trump. Like that playbook is out. Like hating Trump is not the way to win over Americans.
that's so true. It is. It's like this acceleration through the bad stuff. Yeah, I love the analogy of just getting the ball back. It's like, yeah, the like odds of civil war have gone way down since he got elected. It's like those the election was fair all of a sudden and everyone just went home happy, and like, all the people who used to be so pissed are all of a sudden like, well, these elections were free and fair and the right person won and all this. I'm like, everyone's talking about like how it's white men, like young white men switch
Yeah.
sides. Like it was 56% for Biden, I think, in 2020, and then 56% for Trump. And now it's like the talking points are like, okay, well, now the left needs like its own ecosystem of podcasts, and like we need like a liberal Joe Rogan. And I'm like, okay, great time for us to be starting a podcast. Give us some money, George Soros. Like,
Yeah, like this is gonna get us on Amazon,
come
Bezos.
on, you want a liberal Joe Rogan? I got two of them right here for you.
But also like Joe Rogan used to be liberal. It's like you were Joe.
Yeah.
Like we talked about on the last podcast. It was like 10 years ago. I don't even know. Like it just seems like the whole concept of saying podcasts won this election is feels like more rhetoric that I just can't buy into because there's just so many people that don't even know how to work their phones to access a podcast that vote.
Totally. I mean, it's so tempting to just pick like one factor. It was this, like the magic bullet. It was this, it was that. And it's like obviously it was like 90 million things all combined in like crazy ways for each individual voter. It's like this whole notion of like, oh, well, it was TikTok what did it. It's like probably not, but couldn't have
I
helped.
mean,
I mean, maybe though.
I'll say this: if you wanna boil down to one thing, him getting shot at and surviving is a pretty big one.
I mean,
It's a pretty
don't
big
I
one.
look? I look cool just doing this. I
You
get
look
it.
cool. Now imagine if you had a ketchup packet on your headphones and like just a little bit of color.
I mean, yeah, and I thought you were gonna say money as the one thing it boiled down to, because like the inflation stuff.
True.
Any voter I heard doing an interview, they were just like, well, the economy, and I'm like, all right, but like, wouldn't you rather have the person who's not an asshole run the economy? But no one cares. No, nobody
No,
cares.
but also the issue with Kamala, the issue that Kamala faced, not the issue with Kamala, is that it's hard to preach changing the White House from inside.
It
Like I
was
think like
yeah, totally.
she had a huge disadvantage from just like being someone who's listed as like a part of the thing. Like a part of the thing that a lot of people act like they have troubles with. I don't even think people care. I think one part about being an American is the freedom to complain. And one of the easiest ways to complain is about who's quote unquote leading the country.
Dude, I can't believe you just picked up on that because that's something that my wife talks about all the time. She's from South Africa originally, and she's like, people have it so good here. And obviously, like South Africa is a very developed country. It's not like, but compared, like, just the
Right.
supermarkets here are, and like the preservatives in the food, it's just like, not that that's good, but it's just like this level of
Right.
abundance, and like anything you need is like there. Like, yeah, and that we just need something to complain about, and especially if you're someone who's not even like a 68-year-old white woman from the Upper West Side of Manhattan. What problems do you really have, except for who's in the White House? And it makes perfect sense, and I give her full credit for that hot take. See if she's over here.
It's good
She,
shit.
I thought she was sitting on the couch, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna get some brownie
Yeah.
points for dropping that
Yeah,
knowledge, but
yeah,
she's not
yeah,
even
yeah.
here.
No, it'd be like that. It'd be like that.
But
Speaking
it
of
is.
people not, no, go ahead. No, please.
No, I was just gonna say, I thought, yeah, you such a good take. Yeah, people just love to complain. It's like politics is like sports. It's just like another thing to like yell about.
Right. And okay, so we obviously are very we're millennials, so we're not above the scroll, right? Something that happened, talking about factors that led to this election, is Elon Musk, who is one of Trump's buddies, essentially bought Twitter on a dare a few years back, and it's paid way too much money, changed the company completely, and changed the platform completely. And as someone who, excuse me, my work is on Twitter, like it's been quite a shift and a change. But you created our Twitter handle
Yeah.
page recently. Shout out to
Please follow us, everybody. You can find us at Sitting on Biz Pod. That's BIZ at Sitting on Biz Pod. Yeah, I made a Twitter when I was like 19, right? And I never tweeted. I just like for some reason the medium didn't appeal to me. Never really messed with it. And now I've made this Twitter, like 15 years later, however long it's been, for our podcast, Sitting on Business at Sitting on Biz Pod. Um, and holy shit, Twitter is fucked now. I couldn't believe the stuff. I opened it up and it was just instantly porn. Like, is that a thing? Like, they could do porn on there now. Like, something was like, this is adult content, and I was like, yeah, okay, it's Twitter. It's like probably somebody being mean or whatever. And so I click on it, it's just like a woman taking her boobs out at a Target or something. It was like actual full boobs.
Listen,
listen to me.
No,
I sound like I've been living in a cave. Boobs.
they're showing the rust now.
It's like
I
that.
often
Is
think
that
about
even like?
I often think about the caveman, the first caveman woman that cover up their breast, and like how upset cavemen were about it. Like, what is this?
It's like some. I mean, it's like the Garden of Eden story. I forget. Was it?
Oh man.
I mean, now we're gonna dive into the Bible. Now I can't even remember the story. But who like developed shame first? Was it Adam or Eve? One of them was like, we got to cover this stuff up.
It's very controversial, to be honest with you, because it's one of those things that like Christian men, the Harrison Buckners of the world, use as citing a source of how women were the first people to complicate things in the world because
that
Eve was told not to bite the apple, and then the devil, as the serpent, said, "Go ahead, take a little bite of that apple now, girl. You look at that juicy little apple. I know you want to taste that apple." Now, when you hear the story, do you envision it being green or red?
That is such a good question.
I envision it being green just because Granny Smiths are like. And I think red is like too on the nose. Like, I could say no to a red apple. It's harder for me to say no to a green apple. So I just put my preferences on it.
But I think I see it as green too, but then like some instinct kicks in where my brain wants to make it red because that feels like more like a sinful color, a demonic, so diabolical color.
It was probably like a Gala or a Honey Crisp that got a little bit of both in it. But anyways, no, so okay, so that whole thing is like, yes, it was all woman's fault, and then the modesty and all that stuff like that. They had to cover up. Anyways, back to Elon Musk. He bought Twitter April 14th, 2022, and the deal was completed in October 27th, 2022. So it really started to take a turn then. So we're really like 2 full years into Elon Musk's Twitter, and it's like, instead of ads, it's like his tweets about voting for Trump. And then there was the whole election thing where he was doing if you registered to vote, you could win $1 million.
That is the most, maybe the wildest detail of the whole election to me, is like, I feel like we're entering a new era of politics where it becomes like this crazy, I mean, it already is a crazy carnival, but where it almost becomes literally a carnival where like there's $1 million giveaway if you read it, and it's just like, it sounds illegal. And I think the courts like tried to stop it, but then a judge was like, nah, let him cook. And it was fine. That's honestly, we're also not far off from judges, instead of saying like you're acquitted, just being like the court finds that it is prudent to let him cook.
He's cooking. Let's see where he's going.
That must have been what the judge said for the Young Thug trial. Jeffrey, whatever his last name is.
Well, they actually, Lyons, is that his last name?
I don't know.
Young Thug's last name. Siri. No, I think. You can't just throw Young Thug at me. I'm gonna think about how much of that trial I've seen on Twitter.
Dude, I saw him perform live at Terminal 5 in New York a long time ago, and it was one of the best shows ever. And he did like literally like 10 outfit changes. And at one point he came out, and he had like a full like Chevrolet Impala like on the stage that he was sitting in at various points. But then he just did so many outfit changes, and at one point he came out kind of like wrapped up in like a scarf, like a babushka, like an old like Russian grandma.
That must have been the Wyclef album.
It may have been. I think it was even before that, but honestly, who knows? But wait, I totally derailed us with talk of Jeffrey, but glad they freed him with the weirdest probation of all time. 15 years and he can't return to Atlanta? Sounds crazy. But honestly, he's going to make some good music now.
no, can't make any drug related or gang related music, so he's gonna be like doing a bunch of subliminals. And there's like four different concerts that he has to do for charity that he can't reap any of the benefits of. And he's banned from Atlanta for 20 years, and that's how long the probation is. It was time served and 20 years. I'll tell you what, that lawyer in Atlanta is going to be getting some work.
For sure. But
Um,
dude, if he doesn't call the next mixtape Banned from Atlanta, I don't even know like what anything means.
oh man,
If we don't immediately switch our podcast to being called Banned from Atlanta, what are we doing? What
I feel like that's the thing. He can't take these risks because he can end up back in jail. I think just banned would be good. He got to
he's
take the
gonna
Gucci
I
Man
know.
model,
I feel like
the banned series.
his like music is going to create a bunch of new like Supreme Court free speech cases. Like it's gonna be they're gonna be like going to
No,
battle over like if like a third degree reference to like wiping your nose is actually gang related, it'll be like
oh,
get him like a tissue, and everyone's like what
it,
got him.
no,
He said
it's
tissue.
literally gonna turn. It's gonna turn judges or like people going after him into Twitter people going down rabbit holes, and it's like he said this and that means this, and then but Gunna also said this. The fact that he's teaming back up with Gunna and they're just going to keep going is nuts. Especially like Gunna was going all that snitch stuff, and then he just kept making good music, and now they're going to team up and keep doing it.
It's like a
It's I
comic
mean
book. It's
it's
like your enemies one day, and then you're teaming up the next day, and
remember
we
the
like it all.
era where it was like big threes, and it was like, oh no, it was duos, and like the like all the mimicking of stuff in the NBA, like what's going to win us a championship. I think we're getting back to the big three, and it's Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and Donald Trump as like America's big three, and
Yep.
for Future, it's Metro Boomin, Gunna, and Future. It actually might be Drake, Gunna, and Future.
Hard to
Because
say. But wait, so
yeah,
who's Chris Bosch in the Trump, Elon Rogan big?
you got to get. I think you got to put Joe Rogan there. As much as popular as he is like as respected as he is how respected Chris Bosh probably should have been in that big three. But the Raptor years. It's like Joe Rogan pre-COVID years. Like it's like, are we really listening that way?
It's I mean, it's funny. Like, there's just one Canadian team, and I mean, I'm from Seattle, so I remember the Vancouver Grizzlies when Canada was represented on both coasts. And honestly, one of
Shout
the
out,
all-time great logos in sports is
so good,
that
so good.
Grizzly holding the
That, I mean, the
basketball. Like,
jerseys too.
of course,
Yeah, those are
and the
sick.
Raptors
Like whatever
jerseys.
green that was.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Remember Sharif Abdur Rahim and Mike Bibby? Dude, those Grizzlies teams were nice.
And they were sick. Shout out to Earl Watson. I think he got drafted by the Grizzlies
Bro,
before
I
they
loved Earl Watson. Shout out UCLA.
before they
Shout out
changed.
Seattle Supersonics. RIP. I'm getting
I can't.
depressed.
I mean, also they're not together anymore. But I wouldn't know Earl without Joy. So shout out Joy. Shout out Joy Taylor. Okay.
Yeah, can we get Joy? Can we get Joy on the pod? We what we need to do is just like piggyback off somebody successful and steal their followers. And by steal, I mean borrow. We don't want to harm anyone.
That is the way of podcasts, but that is a perfect segue, my friend, that you just handed us.
Perfect.
It's sports takes. Okay.
Yes, talk to
we
me.
are we are two males, cisgen males, and like that, we are stereotypical and we bond over sports, and in a very weird way, in our different specialties, if you will. But you have some sports takes. I have some sports takes. I work in the sports take business. I have for the last 8 years. And I had an epiphany the other day that I could not share on work. But when people give passionate sports takes, it gives me the ick. That is what new Gen Z white women call feeling uncomfortable or awkward situations. It is the ick. And when I see someone who is miles away from the competition at play and the people and the decisions there speak vehemently and with power and passion about this take, it makes my balls itch just a little bit. But I do have certain ones that I stand on 10 toes on. Like long time ago, I said TJ Watt was going to end up being the best Watt brother the NFL has seen. Through JJ Watt's tear of, you know, MVPs or defensive MVPs and sack records and all things like that, I just knew there was something to TJ. He represented the future of the position, while JJ Watt represented like
The best version of the
how
old.
I mean yeah he would have been a nasty three technique in that time, like, or in this time, you know what I mean? Like, just like be able to get to the quarterback, but also just like not as fluid in his hips. But anyways,
Sure, but wait. So what about like someone like Stephen A? That's what I'm wondering. It's like because people are watching for those like out of control takes, like for the suit and like when he's like fighting with Mad Dog, like they love that shit. And is that the very thing that gives you the ick? That kind of like Kevin Durant
no,
is not a leader.
no, I think that's a good question, because that's the embrace debate society, or the embrace the debate era. Like in sports media, they have eras like the WWE does, or WWF. Like there's like the Attitude Era, like, you know, the Realism Era,
Bro,
like
by
all
the
whatever
way,
the things are.
real quick, did you watch any of that Vince McMahon docu series on Netflix?
You don't hear me quoting it right now.
All right, sorry, keep going.
But no, it really is like that. So Embrace Debate was like the next iteration of it. Before it was like more Jim Rome and like kind of, I do a Jim Rome impression. I can't do it right now. But and then it became like Stephen A, Skip Bayless debating over the same topics, and seeing who could yell louder and who had the best takes and things like that. And that doesn't necessarily give me the ick. It's more of like the one sided, like no one cares about this person's opinion, but they want to get it in really bad. And it's like, you know, that's subjective. So it's kind of petty once you actually put more words to what gives me the ick. But it is definitely an industry, because it is a something of there's winning involved, and I don't think there used to be that type of winning in sports media before, because it was just like you would let the games tell you who won or if you were right or wrong, versus like being right or wrong in the moment.
I was wondering about that. Like, how much has sports media changed, or is it just the media that's changed? Like, because now there's this, like, oftentimes unhealthy obsession with players' personal lives and, like, intangibles, like this, like the Kevin Durant leadership thing. It's like, I guess that's probably been the sort of take that sports media people have had since, like, the 1950s, that kind of thing. But I just wonder, like, how much of it is kind of related to the present cultural moment and how much of it has just always been part of sports. Because I know they were talking about like Joe Namath and his fur coats and like Clyde Frazier and like being like this flashy
Yes.
like New York dude. I'm sure that was all part of the story, but now it just feels like, I don't know. We weren't around,
No,
so we
no,
don't
you're
know.
no, you're on to something. I think what we haven't talked about yet is the fact that now the players are part of sports media in a
Yes,
very real way,
totally.
where we used to like had to like wait for somebody to have a sit down documentary with somebody to pull nuggets that could make us question a play that happened 2 years ago or something like that. Now it's just
Yes.
waiting for to hear somebody pop off about it. Like now it's waiting for that one person to finally talk about, like Richard Sherman, on the decision to throw the ball instead of run the ball in that Super Bowl that you guys lost in Seattle. Like, it's a lot different now because the players are in the chair. But because of that, and because of social media, it's all very like instant. It's like, as I was talking about this, that you know, the debate stuff. It's like all happening right now, and everyone's getting the answers immediately.
And it sort of ties in. I think you're totally right. I was just reading this article earlier today about how society has taken on this like gambling mentality, like everything is gambling. And I was
Ooh,
like, yeah, feels like it has some actual like explanatory power. Like obviously people are hooked on
interesting.
sports betting, we know that, but I was literally I bet how much did I lose? $24 or something on Kamala. Like on Robinhood, you could buy like shares in Kamala
What?
or Donald Trump. And like that's just like normal now, but it's actually not normal. Like that like anything is like a market. You used to have to like I don't know, go to like Little Italy in New Jersey and like find a bookie or something. And now you can open up Robinhood or DraftKings or whatever, and you're just laying down bets on anything. Like the first thing time it hit me was like all the prop bets for the Super Bowl. Like a few years ago when it was
Yeah.
legalized in New York, I was like in February, I was looking at the options and it was like betting on the coin toss. I'm like, this is not good. I couldn't even put my finger on why, other than like gambling is addictive. But it's like there's something larger going on with this gambling mentality. I mean, if you're talking about some kind of like Marxist analysis of capitalism, people are always talking about how everything has become a commodity, like everything's commodified,
Right.
like anything's tradable. But now it's like a new development, like an offshoot of capitalism, which is like, which I guess has always been there. Because like, what is the stock market except for gambling? It's just now that gambling has become like democratized. Like
True.
anybody can like take a shot at a corporation and try to like undersell it, like GameStop or pump it up or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Like the Venn diagram between futures and gambling in the stock market.
it's always been there, but now it's just like dudes in like middle America, whatever, like anyone, like just like the average dude has a piece of the action now in a way that was like restricted before, maybe. I don't know, but this guy in this article I was reading about this gambling mentality was also talking about how if you're on social media a lot, or if you're on X a lot, or you're on TikTok a lot, that you just have a really high tolerance for like risk and for like wild
Mm,
swings, like because everything
yeah.
in social media is just like chopped up and like granular and tiny and gets rearranged and reshuffled, and so it's like you're just used to like this swirling kind of chaos media environment.
With
So it's like if Donald Trump wins, okay, things were already chaotic according to my feed, and it's just like another
right.
thing to gamble on or another thing that might provide some opportunities or whatever. It's a wild world.
Well, you never know what's going to be next. And you never know if you like it until you kind of complete the video or if you just decide to keep scrolling. Like I've always said that social media killed late night because people were getting their flavor of jokes, how they were like curating how the jokes came in via the news, right? Like where a lot of times when we were coming up for stand up, it was just like you find out the news through late night, through the joke form
Right.
of your favorite comedian kind of delivering it, right? Letterman's top 10 lists, you know what I mean? Like different things like that, where now it's just like you hear about the joke before you hear about the news, and it's from your favorite person who's making jokes right now.
That
You know what
you
I mean? Like it's
that's kind of a mind-blowing like formulation that you just laid out, that the joke comes before the story now, or like, and there's probably something else in
that's
there
what it
too, like
is.
that the just yeah, like the opinion, like the hot take comes before the story. Like
Yes.
just back like we talked about um when we recorded last time, the eating cats and dogs stuff. It's like that became a meme and a song and a joke and a
Right.
conspiracy theory and all this other stuff before it ever became any sort of like reported story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was. I mean, because it was a lie. Like it was like the like
Yeah, I
like
forgot. I
it
forgot
like
about that little detail.
yeah, it was like they had a deep. They had to like make a news story to debunk a joke that derived from a lie that that Trump just like threw out there in a presidential debate after JD Vance had said it. The couch. Like I think it's so crazy. Here's the thing: when to be anti-Trump back in the day, I used to say, not make America great again, make politics boring again. Right? Like I used to love not knowing or caring about what the hell they were going. Like I love getting put to sleep watching C-SPAN. Like all that stuff was great back in the day. He's been elected for a week. It's entertaining as shit again, Matt. It's funny. It's
Yeah.
like watching it and like hearing what he's going to say next. He has these addresses that he's like freestyling ad libs in between. Like he'll read the things like so true. Uh,
I know. It's
it's
like
like isn't that crazy? Like
it's kind
Go
of, it's
through.
honestly kind of like Letterman style, who used to sort of almost position himself like against the writers, where it was
Yes.
kind of like, a joke wouldn't really hit, and he'd be like, "Who's writing this shit?" That was like kind of the whole Letterman ethos, like looking at the producer, being like, "Really, like, number 6 on the top 10 list? What was that?" And that's
They
Trump. He's
they
just kind of like,
say
"No, go
they
ahead."
say here that it's changing. I don't know. It seems like it's been good, but they're saying it's bad. I don't know.
That's such a
We can change it.
fascinating observation, because it does, like, to his supporters, I'm sure it lends some gravity or like some truth to what he's saying, because he's like, it's almost like they're watching a debate between like one, like himself and himself. He's like, I love the idea that he's ad libbing. He's like he's in the studio, like, yeah,
Like,
okay,
we're closing the borders. The borders.
close him up.
Closing. Okay. Okay. We've gone too long.
It's
We've
true. We're
tried it.
almost.
We want to keep this kind of keep this tight.
Let's see.
And
Oh yeah,
I
we're
had
hit.
some
We
I
hit
had some stuff I
48.
wanted to get. Yeah, I had some stuff I want to get off my chest.
Oh, lay it
I
on
had some
us.
stuff I want to get off my
Take us
chest.
home. Take us home. This could be our closing segment. Brandon's thoughts.
Okay, so the first episode was us trying to figure out. Okay, I have to cough now.
Well, don't worry. I'll fill some time. I believe what my colleague was trying to say is.
The first episode we were trying to figure out the name, right? The name of this podcast, and one of the things I was throwing around to you was not on this episode or not on that last episode, just like via text, was telling on yourself, because essentially that's what a lot of podcasts is. So to boil down the telling on themselves more so than we have in these last 45 minutes, I want to lay out a segment where we can address our guilty pleasures.
Yes,
Okay.
I forgot about the guilty pleasures. All right, tell me a good one of yours.
This is the 2024 guilty pleasures. Okay. Takes a lot for me to admit to you guys, but I cannot get enough of white women rapping.
It's just not what I thought you were going to say.
It's honestly
But
like
wait. No, tell me.
no, listen, no, okay, I'm in an interracial relationship, obviously, as is Matt. My
It's
wife is
true.
white, so I am nervous about just like exercising versions of like telling on myself and my proclivities. Like one of the worst things about being in an interracial relationship is like people can like look at us and like guess our porn history, which I think is unfair. Like I think you should be able to like guess what people are into, but like obviously it's very clear. But so with that, I don't know, I'm reducing and being reductive on purpose, but with that, these white women in this era that are rapping are doing are they're saying some things, Mike. Why I say Mike? They're saying some things, Matt. I want to say, I'm sorry. I'm saying some things. Okay, you want to hear
By the way,
one of
you would be amazed at how many, I mean, people like, and I know you know my name because we're friends, but for some reason, people just call me all kinds of different names. Like, they can never remember my name. Like, I'll go up to someone and be like, "Hey, Matt, nice to meet you." And they'll be like, "Mac?" Like a Big Mac? And I'll be like, "All right."
that's funny because my son's name, and the one thing I don't know about, like I call all of my kids like the dog too. Like I run through all the names before I get to the right one, and they're always like, "You said my name, Carter." It's like, yes, I know. CTE. No, I'm joking.
Ha ha
Okay,
ha.
so listen. There's there's two white girl rapping clips that I've pulled. One I haven't heard.
Oh, you got the
The
clips?
other, yes, one I haven't heard. The other one is one of my favorites right now. This I don't know what her name is, but she's coming from Michigan and she's rapping out in front of like a historical Michigan statue, and I sent it to all my siblings. They're all black, and they all gave the A-OK to it. So I was like, okay, I don't feel as much of an Uncle Tom liking this video.
I was gonna ask, are these like real rappers or are these just like ladies on Instagram like fucking around?
Real practicing rappers. We'll talk
Okay.
about Win later. She's one of the best. She's from Portland, and like I'm gonna put you on her the way I put you on Jack Harlow
I was
earlier
just
in
gonna
life.
say you do have a scouting eye for white rappers. This dude, dear listeners,
Got an
this
eye and
man,
ear for the.
talent scout. You did tell me about Jack Harlow because of the Louisville connection years before he popped off. Not even
Yes,
not even kidding. Literal years before he was anybody. You were already telling me to be on the lookout, and now he's the biggest of the big.
I mean,
So
yeah, he's had Drake on an album. We'll say that. Um, I don't know. I guess a lot of people can probably say that. But anyways, okay. So here's I'm gonna introduce you to let's see what is her name?
I can't wait.
Oh, her name is Claire Shaban.
Just like a
Okay.
regular name.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
This is
I don't know what to
this is
expect.
Claire Shaban.
I'm expecting bars.
I mean, you know me. You know what I like.
Wow. Dude, I mean, you know what I appreciate is that she's not like doing a black scent, which is I was definitely expecting. She just
Yes.
sounds like a white girl, but she's got bars. I loved New Veneer and Souvenir. That's some good rhyming right there.
Bro, I mean, it's taking her experience as well. Like she said, she still got her however old she was, and still got her parents on her ass. Like
I mean, titties sitting up like the teacher's pet. That's just good rap. You know
it's
what I
a
mean?
lot.
Like
It's a lot of red bottoms running to the money like Sonic. Like it's just like
it
it's
just
digestible.
it's working. Yeah, I liked it. It was unpretentious. It was pretty laid back. I mean, clearly she's a pot smoker. You know what I mean? It was a laid back flow, which I liked, and she wasn't like doing the most, which I also liked.
No, but also the Detroit flow switch is essential.
It
Like,
did,
and she
yeah.
started with, she's like, wait, what we doing here? Swimming to the money. I need scooping here.
I was
What you
getting
do
like
this
a
year?
Babytron kind of vibe out of her.
Yes, yeah, that's something.
It's
Like,
that
so
Michigan
you see them
flow.
but Babytron, Sada Baby. I got a little bit of like hints of that, so you can tell like there's some Detroit influence in there. But I think she's just from like the suburbs of Michigan. But yeah, I've listened to that whole song. I may
I'm
or may not follow
down.
her on
It's kind of
Instagram. Yeah,
inspiring. I'm ready. I'm ready to drop the
she's not
EP.
bad.
I'm gonna collab
Now
with her.
this next one, Matt, is from Rap Radar, and I didn't hear what she had to say. I wanted to experience this for the first time with you.
Wow.
But I would tell you what, her voice is not like Shaban's. Okay, not like Miss Shaban's.
I
You ready
I
for this?
I can only imagine what this is gonna be.
Okay, wait a minute. Do you want to you want to give her a grade? You want to throw out a grade for um what
Yeah.
we just heard?
I mean, for a freestyle, I'm gonna give it. Let's see. What should we do? Should we do out of 10?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I'm gonna give her a solid 8 out of 10 for that
That's
freestyle.
yeah.
It
I
was
think
good.
that's yeah. I
There
think
was
it's
some
you can tell it's not like an actual freestyle as much as like a
right.
song of hers that she did in the freestyle
And that's my biggest problem with
format.
just the whole concept of a freestyle because no one's actually freestyling anymore except for us on this
No.
podcast.
Yeah, which we'll continue to tease.
I think,
Oh.
yeah.
And eventually do.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, except we do have time for this
Yeah, probably.
second white female rapper. And
Yeah,
what does Michelle
okay,
think
here-
of them? Does she like them? Does she like rap?
So she does. She's a rap fan. She's like embarrassed that like when she was like in the fifth grade or something, like it's like list your favorite artist, and like where everybody's putting Backstreet Boys, she put Tupac and Biggie. Like she's like
She's one of
embarrassed about it. But
she's about it.
yes, yes, So she's been interested in the culture for. She grew up playing like basketball in high school. She has an AAU championship with her Florida team, and like this, she went to school with star niches and stuff like that. Like, it's just not to say that she like went to a troubled school, as they would say, as the Trumpers would say. But she just grew up around the culture and it being funny and fun.
And
Being around black people like it is.
does she feel any type of way about you fiending for white girl rap? Or it's all good?
I think she knows the proclivities I have about bars.
Right.
And
It's just,
think the
it's
package
bars.
is very. She's aware, but it's one of those things that you don't talk about in a marriage. That is understood.
I mean, it is. You did say it was your guilty pleasure. All right, play this. Let's play this clip.
That's how we got here. Yeah,
It's the guilty pleasure. I mean, there's nothing guilty about that first video. That was all pleasure.
Okay, so here we go. I don't know anything about this next one, but
Perfect.
Rap Radar.
Perfect. Oh. Okay. I'm confused. Is that Kodak? What's happening? I am baffled. And yet... Is this the first interracial reaction video ever?
Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute.
I'm so confused. I think that was dubbed over. I don't think that was her. I'm so confused.
So this woman, okay, let's try to explain what she looks like. This woman looks like she's brunette. She does have some Puerto Rican style, like laying the baby hairs down.
Yep.
In the front, a little bit of that. But she also just looks like a skateboarding white chick, maybe.
She does. She looks like she's like yeah. There's one of her in every mid-sized city in America.
Yes, but like for her to be that deep voiced. Like I'm running back a little bit just to figure out what the content is going on.
Yeah, let's focus. Let me stop talking.
What?
Let's just listen to the lyrics. And this is shout out to On the Radar, New York City. Stand up.
On the Radar, and they showcase the flowers and sometimes the not so much.
It's crazy. Speaking of flowers or not so much, it's crazy that Ice Spice's career is already over, but she had a good run, so shouts to her. Although that's
one hell of a drug. No, you're right.
Give us that sponsorship already.
No, sure.
I'm literally, dude. Okay. After our first episode, when you told me you were Zempin, I was already I was Googling where their corporate headquarters is because I could email them for the sponsorship money. Dude, we're getting that Ozempic money. I promise you that.
Do you know where it is? Did you figure it out?
Yeah, it's in New Jersey somewhere.
Oh,
I mean, their global headquarters is in like Denmark, but their U.S. headquarters is in New Jersey. Dude, I could be there in an hour with a pitch deck and some pictures of you looking hot.
It's a branch of Pfizer, no doubt. Okay, let me go.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm rocking some True Boys new Von tell me to read my ass off. Shit, I'm trying to tell them the same. Get to the guap. I'm trying to take this shit far, but never forget why I came. I want the riches, but I don't really care for fame. I want the trackies, little hoe aggy, as do my son need a daddy. I've been popping in my old, keep trying to stop me. My old friends turn wishy-washy.
Okay.
I love babies too.
I'm back after.
No, let me tell you this.
I'm back after my friends turned wishy-washy.
No, when I tell you this, when Matt said originally that this looked like it was dubbed, this looks like I'm watching an anime, and I have all of the perfect words matching things, but like, there's no way this woman sounds like this.
But look, all right, so I much preferred the previous video. Shouts to Claire,
of course.
But
yes,
I will skip. I'm going to give that second one pretty low marks for the lyricism, but pretty good flow.
Okay, this is how you spell that girl's name: Jorjiana.
J. That was like that sounds like a riddle.
Oh.
Jorinja, Jorinja.
Jorjiana.
Oh, Georgina. Like a
Oh,
wild
Georgina.
spelling of Georgina.
I don't know how to spell or say things. So I found she apparently. I would say this. It was probably freestyle.
I'll give her that. That's how I feel when I listen to
And-
2 Chainz. I'm like, okay, 2 Chainz is really freestyling.
Yes.
Because
And
like
he's
if
funny too.
he's funny. I
And the
respect a
project
real
that she's putting
freestyle.
out is I love bad bitches too. So that's why she kept repeating it over and over again.
Okay.
It's like her album that's out or whatever mixtape.
I just, I think we're both the same in this respect. We just like the wordplay, we like that's why Lil Wayne and Jay-Z, like, those are the goats to me. It's like the wordplay is crazy. It's like there was no wordplay really in that one, but Claire, there was like, like titties up, like the teacher's pet. I'm like, that's some good shit.
You know what? I think we're both a little bit of like English nerds to the point where like we want to hear something was like, is that a metaphor? Is that a simile?
Yeah, dude. That's so true. As a former English teacher, I'm definitely listening to rap songs like I'm grading a paper. Like, yeah, that metaphor could have been extended, Thug.
Now,
Jeffrey,
if you just do a double entendre with alliteration. That's why Kendrick is the best. Like he hits all of those marks all the time.
He's such an English nerd. That's why I used to try to teach him when I was teaching, and the kids just did not give a shit. I was like, "Hey guys, check it out. It's Kendrick," and they'd be like, "Fuck you." Fair enough, kids.
Where's Playboy Cardi?
I literally put a Future music video on one day. We're gonna analyze the imagery of this Future music video, and he's like standing on a gas station, and they were not into it.
No,
how?
Honestly, we can't keep having these podcasts. We have to end it at some point in time. But Future definitely blends of both the genres or both like the not genres, generations. Like he what he do on that Black Panther is like la-di-da-di-da, slob on me now, piece of chick, motherfucker,
bro,
murder everything. Like that was on a song with Kendrick.
I mean, that goes hard.
It was the most like singable part of the song.
There, like when I was teaching, these kids were showing me like rap. There's like actual like, have you seen this? Like actual like high pitched like baby voiced rap. I gotta try to find some.
No,
it's the wildest shit I've ever heard. These kids showed it to me, and it's like serious. It's not a joke. It's like literally the dude's flow is like, "I am the best at this shit." I'm like, I don't know. I gotta find it, but that'll be for next time. Because you're right. It's been fun. we looked at some white lady rappers. We talked about the election. We talked about comedy and politics and sports and all our favorite things. And we appreciate you listening. Find us at Sitting on Biz Pod on Twitter, at Sitting on Biz Podcast on YouTube. We're available. I don't even know if that's right. We may have to edit my voice in, but we'll see. Sitting on Business. That's the movement. Join the wave.
That's the movement, baby. SOBs.
Come see about us.